So, day 2, this is what we got so far. Got the tank off, got the motor and the pump off. The pump I sold, the tank's still for sale. Now I'm gonna take off this big old back end. I got the pintle hitch off. I got all my air controls for the pintle hitch, and this is all the stuff for the this is the thing, the air control for the water diverter. Probably not going to use that, but I saved it. Here's my glad hands in the back. I'll save that. This is the air diaphragm for the pintle. This screws into the back of the pintle, which comes through here, and it tightens up on the pintle hitch so it doesn't bang back and forth and make a lot of noise. So now I got to cut this out right here, and here's my pintle hitch. That's a monster. I couldn't get the bolts out, so I just cut them off. And then I'm going to cut this down here, save the bed for something. This is where the pump was. This is the bracket for the pump. I got that sold. This is what I was talking about, the air diverter for the water. I won't use that, but I'll save it for something. Here's the bracket for the motor that goes to the pump. Motor is sold already. So now we go cut this beast off. Well, that's how it's done. Just like that. Ah, look, I found a good rag. 3 of them. I can use that. Not really. just keep cutting. So now, here's the back end of my truck. That's where the pintle goes. I'm keeping all of that. The pintle will go right back on there after I clean it up. But I gotta scrape all this junk off of there. Then I gotta cut this up. Probably just cut it in half. It's easier to handle. There's nothing on there that I need, just junk steel. So I'll get rid of it. Can't keep it all. Then I gotta unbolt damn bolts right there. Those bolts get unbolted. This plate here gets unbolted. Probably just cut the heads of the bolts right off. Buy new bolts. Do that on both sides. Cut this bed off. Somewhere along there, cut the bed off. Get rid of that. I think. We'll see. And then do something with this big old monster crane. I haven't figured out what I want to do with it yet. I might put it on this end of the, right behind the cab, and have it sticking out over here. This way I could put a fifth wheel plate on here and I can haul stuff at the same time and use the crane. So I might do that. It's got good outriggers. Just turn this sucker around and point it the other direction. Problem is, how am I going to do that? Well, one thing at a time. Stay tuned. Like and subscribe and you'll see the rest of this project. Well, here's the next step in the process. I decided just to scrap this crane because I don't need it. It's too big, too cumbersome, too much trouble. So it's going to the scrap yard. I'm sure they'll do something with it. Anyway, so these bolts were really hard to get out, so I said forget it. I just cut all the bolts off, and as you can see, I just took a punch and punched the bolts through, and I left one there kind of loose, one there kind of loose, so I can get it to the scrap yard, take those two bolts out, two on each side, and then they will lift this off for me. That bracket I want to keep because that bracket is attached to all of this, and that's my pintle right there. So right there, that piece of C-channel is the main strength for this pintle hitch that goes right there. Under that pintle hitch, I'm gonna put a plate. Actually, not a plate. It's a big C-channel that comes down here. And right here in that C-channel is going to be a receiver for just towing little stuff. So, got to have one of those because I got all kinds of bumper pull trailers I got to tow. So, anyway, so here's my airlines. All kinds of stuff I got to deal with still. But this thing was leaking fluid for a lot of years, and it just caked up dirt and fluid on here several inches thick, so I had to chip it all away, as you can see. And down in there, at least my wires are all protected by all that glop. But anyway, I'm gonna get rid of all that, chip most of it, steam clean the rest. These hydraulic hoses, they will go also, they go all the way up here to my PTO pump. I'm going to keep that because I don't know if I'm going to put a wet kit on here or not, but if I ever want to run something hydraulic, I've got a PTO there, so I'm going to keep that. This thing will eventually come off. I'll leave it on for now just so I can get it to the scrap yard. I'll put a strap around that so nothing comes loose. But this is good steel that I will keep. It also has a shovel holder for a shovel, so who knows, that'll go somewhere. Eventually I'm going to put a bracket here with a stack, exhaust stack. Right now my exhaust on this beast, you can see how high these fenders are. I mean, I'm looking straight at this fender and it's 5.5 feet tall, so this thing's a monster. Anyway, there's my exhaust right there. Comes down from the motor, comes around. They got this funky little plate on here. All this is coming out. I don't want this muffler sitting right here in front because all it does is it shoots out exhaust right here, and if I got my window open, it goes right inside. So that's dumb. Anyway, so the crane's coming off. Yeah, probably next week. I don't have time to do this week, but you'll see I got a pretty good length of frame rail that I can do stuff with. I might even build a dump trailer or a dump truck out of this. Got a heavy enough suspension, so we'll see. One thing at a time. Well, let me show you what we got so far. We got ourselves a transfer case. Let me get in out of the light here so you can see it better. This is a Fabco transfer case. This is not your average medium duty pickup truck transfer case. This is extremely heavy duty, a lot heavier than what I need, but it'll work. The price was right. I went on a government auction surplus website, bought it for $700 plus tax. It's new, or reconditioned, one or the other. It's hard to say. It's probably reconditioned, but anyway, it's not an old piece of junk. Here is your output yoke. Goes back to the rear differentials. This is your input yoke coming from your transmission. This is your output yoke going towards your front axle. As you can see, it's a Fabco there's the plate. Government website number. And it's going right in there. Not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I have it on a ETV jack, which there's no way it's going to lift it. It's just there on the wheel so I can roll it around. It's strapped to that thing so I could hopefully get it under here. I have enough room for it. As you can see, there's the drive shaft that'll come out and it'll be shortened eventually. And I have a chain hoist right there, and that is attached to my crane, which I haven't taken off yet, so I decided I was going to use that as a support member for this chain hoist to get my transfer case in. So far I've shortened and modified this bed. I'm not going to put wood or metal on it yet until I get everything underneath finished, because this gives me a little bit more light and room to stand up and work down there. And I've got plenty of room down there. And you can see I've already disconnected except for a couple 4 bolts, cut out what I don't want, left what I did want, and this crane is going to be for sale, or I might use it. I'm thinking about getting another truck frame similar to this. I got a buddy that's got one that's going to scrap and I can have it for nothing. So I think I'll probably get that frame and put these outriggers down, jack it up, and drive out from underneath it and lower it back down on another frame. But that's another day. This is my hitch I built. Yeah, it's a bit heavy duty. This is a pintle hitch, and I got a piece of C-channel and put in a receiver. This is for chains to go in case you're pulling something that doesn't have hooks. Chains go in here and you attach them in the back. I've got my airlines going in. I've got my D-rings welded on. I'm gonna be putting lights down in here, one here, and it's progressing. I'll give you a further update once I get oh yeah, this is where the 5th wheel hitch is going to go, right here. That's why this bed doesn't come all the way back. And the 5th wheel and the gooseneck is going to go in there. Yeah, I still need to get a tire, but I got one. So this is this week's project, to try to get that. It only weighs 800 pounds. Shouldn't be too hard. I think I'll just put up my chest and bench press it up in there. Haha. Not. So that thing goes in here, and it should just clear the frame rail. If not, I'll tilt it over a little bit and try to get that up in there and then hoist it in. And then I got to make brackets. I got bolt holes right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll build a big C-channel right here. I will build another C-channel on this side and then weld that to a cross member along the top, and then the cross member gets bolted in between the chassis C-channel is. So I'll keep you posted. So we're putting in this transfer case. I took out my drive shaft. Here's the drive shaft sitting on the ground. Pulled all those bolts out. They go into the flange of the transmission. And there's the transmission flange. You can see it's nice and shiny and clean, not even any rust, so it's a pretty good mating surface. It was sealed really well. So here's my transfer case that I'm putting in. What I did is I got this ATV jack over here. It's a pretty good jack. It lifts it quite well, but I don't trust the jack on its own. So up here I got myself a chain hoist. It's not strong enough to lift the transfer case on its own because it's like 800 pounds or so. And this is just a cheap light duty chain hoist, but the chain hoist keeps it up, keeps it from falling down. So that's what's supporting this transfer case. See? And so I just basically just keep jacking this up like this. So that just jacks up right there. The transfer case is sitting on these boards, and I just jack it up and tighten up on my chain hoist. Until I get high enough to figure out how to attach it to these. I got two frame mounts right here. Two on this side, two on that side. This has already got some rubber bushings and stuff in there. I'll probably just change those all out, put new bolts. But there's 4 bolt holes there I have to make a plate for, but I've got to get it in position first, so it's got to come up another, I don't know, 12 inches or so. This thing sure is a beast. I'll let you know how it goes when I get her a little higher. So here's the bracket I made. I made 2 of these. I don't know if you can see it real well, but it's just a piece of C-channel, real heavy C-channel, and I got a piece of heavy angle iron in there welded, and another piece of angle iron up here. It's a gusset. Holes cut in there. I didn't have a drill big enough, so I cut them with a cutting torch. Not bad. It's round. It's in the right place. That's all it needs to be. And got some elongated holes cut here. And now I'm gonna put this bracket down just dropped it on my foot. Anyway, they go in these holes right here on the side of this transfer case. So the transfer case is in. This is what it looks like from the back end of it. My rear drive shaft connects into here. You can see the size of this yoke. It's pretty monstrous, a lot bigger than the yoke in my truck. The whole transfer case is bigger than I need, but it's what was available, so at least it won't break. So here's my setup I got. This is the mounts I made. See the 2 bolts down there, grade 8 washers and lock washers, and some thread sealant or some thread lock so they won't back out. And there's the top with the grade 8 bolts and other grade 8 bolts going through that mount. There's a little bit of rubber sandwiched in there. They're actually old shock absorber bushings from my top kick I used to have. Here's the angle brackets that originally came with this. They were up higher in that hole there, and they were at different heights for the a different transfer case, but I decided to mount them lower, and so that right here I've got a little bit of help with the strength from the frame. Frame's not going to bend. This isn't going to bend anyway, but at least it's resting on the frame there, or pretty close to it, and because this transfer case is pretty heavy. So that's the one side. See, the other side is basically the same thing. However, I had a little issue with this. The plane of this surface and the plane of this surface right here is not plumb. So I had to put in 3 big washers in there just so that it would be straight and not at an angle. Because this right here comes up straight, but the mating surface is brought in to the left there about a ½ inch. So I spaced it out, and my bolts were long enough to go in there. I got a good 1¼ inch of thread in there, so we're good to go. And the other mounts going to the frame, I lowered those just the same as the other side. So both mounts are exactly the same, and so I know that this transfer case is in there straight and square. So now I just got to hook up my drive shafts or get them made. I got a guy coming next week to do some measurements. They're going to measure the distance between the face of this, which is the center of this, where this is where the U-joint goes in. They're going to measure from here to the center of here, and that'll give me the length of my drive shaft. And most likely it's only about 6 feet, so I probably won't need a hanger bearing. If I do, I'll put one in here, but I don't think I'm going to need that, so we'll see. And then the front drive shaft will be the same from there to there, and then my drive shaft from my transmission from there to there. Just a short drive shaft. All these shafts need a spline so that you can lengthen and shorten it to get it in. And it also takes up some play in case this transfer case ever gets wobbly, which I doubt it. I ain't going nowhere. So there it is. I will let you know when my draft shafts are in.